Hey guys. Oh, thanks to the new members. I'm so happy. Hey Liberty, there you are. I'm trying to hold on one second, guys. I'm trying to mod Liberty here, and I have to. Hold on one second, guys. I'm trying to. There we go. 1 second. There we go. Okay, y'all. So I'm so happy you guys are members. Thank you. I'm super excited about it. So what we're going to do today is, I'm friends with Rob Trevino, and he is Eliahana Torres's cousin. So he has a podcast, and he has asked me to play this, and we're going to listen to this. This is a interview he did with Bret Cross, who is Uziyah's uncle / basically father. I'm going to tell you right now. Hey, Brolette, get a tissue. It is an extremely difficult listen. I will tell you why. I did not know Uziyah's history until now. And look, I'm already getting emotional. For the first time ever, I will say, I'll let you listen to. For the first time ever, Uziyah had finally known love. And the last thing he said for the first time that he said to his uncle was, "I love you," and he was killed the next day. So we need to listen to this. Hey, Michelle K, and I want to honor Rob and make sure I do this. Amory's dad called me late last night. I was unfortunately getting the kids to bed at that time, so I couldn't answer, but we have communicated and we are going to talk today. And like I said, I'm giving him the option of, hey, Malibu Barbie, of whether or not he wants me to interview him live or if he wants to do like a recorded interview. So what I'm going to do is I'm trying to get as many people as would like to interview and kind of share their child's story, the option of doing so. I was listening to the Parkland shooters trial a few minutes ago, and to watch the agony on those parents' face when they went over what he had looked up on the internet and written about how he wants to kill us. It's just brutal. But these parents are desperate for a voice. These Robb Elementary parents, they are going back to school. Well, Uvalde is September 6th. Hold on one second. There was an update that I just saw, which was, and by the way, when Amory's dad, whenever we do it and during these things, I'm going to be super strict with the mods. In fact, Brala, I might mod you because I don't want this to be like, I understand, guns are a huge issue and that's a lot of the change we need. But there's times when, like, I know who's watching this and who's going to be watching this, and I don't want them to have to see it turn into that, if that makes sense. There was an update I wanted to share with you. Why Uvalde Sheriff's Office did not know about the guns of the shooter. Okay, basically what we're hearing is, again, technicality. So, I know, Yenny, I know. And you know what? And Rob does a phenomenal job at interviewing and stuff, as it's very raw for him being the cousin, and his podcast is very awesome. So I'm also going to make sure if you have Spotify or whatever, sub to him. He does a great job. So apparently the federal law requires fire alarm licenses to be filed with the ATF. However, for AR-15s, they have to be filed a separate report in order to go to the sheriff's office. Well, by the time you do that, oh, go bird, go to my feeder, go to my. I just put bird food in there. Go. I like watching it. Hey, Tammy. One thing I will say, yeah, I'm gonna keep it there. But all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play this, okay? Like I said, it is difficult to listen to, but these families deserve a voice. And I'm going to take myself off of the screen. I'm going to put a picture of Uziyah on. Actually, it'll show up right here. Okay. And what am I doing? We are going to go ahead and listen. And so there's some funny memories, and there's some that are pretty hard. And if there's a part we feel we need to skip because it's just kind of like shooting the crap, we'll do that too. But so I want to share this for Rob, and make sure that's up. Okay, Danielle, thanks for being here. Okay, here we go, y'all. I'm going to mute myself, and this is, anything you need to say in the chat that's supportive, or you have questions, by all means, ask them. If you don't hear something, again, just try to be sensitive that there might be people here watching now or later that is family. In fact, I know there will be. Okay? Why did it take so much time for the... Oh, Yenny, yeah, that's that's part of the problem, but...
About something that hits very close to home, that affected me directly, and that is something that is in our news right now, and it still is. And so what we're going to talk about is the Uvalde shooting. For those of y'all that don't know, I had a little cousin who was unfortunately one of the victims, Eliahana Torres.
And feel free to
She was
talk
my
in the chat
cousin,
about this.
10 years old. She attended Robb Elementary. How I'm related to her is her mother. Her and I grew up together in the same neighborhood. I mean, we were a big family, and it was heartbreaking. Now, I've gotten to meet a few people through this tragedy. Every cloud has a silver lining. That's one of the silver linings, is I got to meet different people. And one of the people I got to meet is joining me today. So
that's
I want to start
amazing.
off this whole podcast
Thank you,
by
brother.
saying, in my opinion, the Uvalde shooting was not only a terrible tragedy, but it was also a complete cluster F. I'm going to put it like that.
Thanks,
And
Rebellious. Well put.
I'm angry, as many of us are. And helping me today talk about this is my very first guest. His name is Bret Cross, who was technically the uncle, but let's be real, father of Uziyah, who was also one of the victims of this horrible tragedy. And he's joining me today via Zoom. And I just want to say, Bret, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. And I appreciate you being my very first guest. And I appreciate the...
1 second. Oh, y'all, I do want to inform you what you're about to hear. It is a trigger warning for a couple reasons. Uziyah came from a very abusive home. Oh, I can't even. Oh, sorry, guys. So there is a couple triggers in here. Okay.
Fact that you want to talk about this, man. So I want to give you the open platform to say whatever it is you want to say about the topic. But as I said before, in my opinion, this whole thing, let's be real, was a total clusterfuck. Bottom line. So,
yeah,
floor
exactly.
is yours.
And I appreciate it, and am honored to be your first guest, because I agree with you 100%. Hell, even you telling your story about how Ellie was your cousin and everything got me choked up a little bit, and yeah, I mean, you nailed it right on the head. It was a complete clusterfuck. I mean, we have been failed from the bottom up this whole time, and nobody is taking accountability for anything.
Yeah.
The way I like to say it is, how Swiss cheese, it's filled with holes and everything like that. But if you put about 6 of them together, the holes don't line up. You can't drop a ball through them all.
Right.
In the Uvalde case, all of those were separated and moved to where all the holes lined up. So the ball dropped right through it, and the ball was dropped by everybody involved.
Right. Well, Listen, man, before we get into that, because I mean, I can already tell you and we're gonna really talk about that and get into it. But
Absolutely.
let's start off talking about. Tell us about Uziyah, man. Tell us about
So
him and just your relationship with him. Like, just look. I don't even know him, but just looking at his picture when you put it up, I cried. He looked like a sweet boy, man. I mean, please just tell us.
absolutely. So I mean, you were right, and it gave me chills when you said it too, because it's a fight, anyways. But Uzziah was technically my nephew, but his parents lost custody of him 2 years ago for abandonment, and he was quote unquote being raised by a different family member. Well, when their grandmother got sick and hospitalized, my wife, because let me back up. They're my wife's half sister's kids,
Gotcha.
and so we had them actually about 5 or 6 years ago for like 3 or 4 months because they were going through stuff and everything, and then they took their kids back and everything. We tried to fight it, we couldn't, whatever. And then, like I said, the grandmother got sick who was raising them, and my wife said, "Yo, we got to go get them." So absolutely, and so we got them. We got them in August, August 16th, actually, 3 days after Uzziah's birthday.
Wow.
Right before school started, and when he came to us, and I don't talk about this in the media or any of the interviews, so I'm just going to be 100% straight, and I'm going to piss off a lot of people, but I don't
That's
care.
fine. That's fine.
When I got him, my wife and I got him, he had severe skin issues that we didn't know at first. We were, giving him his lotions and everything, but they were due from stress. So he was so stressed out where he was at that he was covered in um in like eczema and shit.
Oh
And
man.
so and he had a stutter, a real bad stutter. And right before all of this happened, I mean, his skin cleared up because he wasn't stressed and his stutter was gone. Um, he would get his skin rashes and all of that when he'd go back over there for forced visits that, I wasn't too happy with. But his
Right.
stuttering was from nobody gave him a chance to talk. It
Mm.
was always sit down, shut up. He wasn't allowed to be a kid. And that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's terrible. And they would they would tell him, "Oh, man, you're just being a little girl and all that shit." And that don't fly here.
Right. Right.
We were raised in a generation where men couldn't have feelings and all of that, and we don't play that here, because I know that the effects that had on me growing
Right.
up. Hell, you can't even hardly tell your best friend for ages, "Hey, I love you, dude,"
Yeah.
without, So he got all that cleared up, and I mean, he was genuinely happy, and that is what I mean. Out of all of this that happened, I can look back with a smile and say he was happy,
Yeah.
and on that day he got his first AB honor roll ever, and he was so excited. Because we
Wow.
told him, we're like, "Dude, it's the last week. Like, I mean, you're just watching movies and stuff like that. You ain't got to go in." And he was like, "No, but I got my first AB honor roll." And he
Oh
was
wow.
so excited. So, you know,
That's awesome.
it happened. But I mean, he was energetic. I mean, for somebody that came from the background that he came from, he was so full of love. And I admired that so much, because had I come from the same background, I don't think I would have been as loving as he was.
Right.
The situation that he was in would have turned many of people cold,
Right. Right.
and just so happy and full of love, and always wanting to make you laugh. And you know and that's the thing too that pisses me off, is when this first happened. um interviewers like crazy. Obviously, we don't want to talk, so they asked some people that are not connected to him. They, hunting for stories, and the people that now claim they loved him and cared about him and all this shit told the press that he was 8.
Oh wow.
And then 8, and swore up and down that football was his favorite sport. Now, he played football, but that's because that's what they pushed him for. They wouldn't let him talk because he was fast and he could run and catch.
Right.
His favorite sport was basketball.
Oh wow.
And he was so happy when I got him a basketball goal, because he said, this is the first basketball goal I've ever gotten. And it was stuff like, I got him shooting his first goals over here in pictures, and it's heartbreaking that his little life had to end at 10 when he was finally getting to be himself, you know?
Right.
So he spent 9 years of not getting to be himself, to this year when we got him, he was getting to be Uzi,
Right.
And I mean, I'll tell you how big of a heart he had when he first moved in here. He was so excited to share a room with my other son, and he's actually a few months older than my other son. So I'm talking to him and everything, and he's getting to share a room, and he's really excited and everything. And he told us, he goes, I'm so happy. I never got to have a big brother before. And, it broke my heart, but I had to laugh too, because I'm like, dude, he's younger than you. And he goes, yeah, but he's 2 feet taller than me, so he's my big brother. So, it's small things like that. And I mean, I can tell you, and I'm gonna hold back tears and shit when I tell you this, but about 2 weeks before this happened, he had a group of 3 friends, that all 4 of them always run around together. 2 of them lived right next door to each other, and unfortunately only one of them is alive at this point.
Oh man.
Yeah. So he was like, hey, can I go stay the night and everything? And we're like, yeah, sure, dude. And this was on a night that I had to work, on a Friday night. I had work in the morning on Saturday, and we get a phone call at 10:30, and he was like, hey, can you come pick me up? So I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I didn't tell him anything, but I was a little irritated. It's 10:30, I got work.
Yeah.
So I drove over there, and he got in the car, and he's looking real nervous, and I'm like, yo, what happened, man? And he ain't saying nothing. I'm like, dude, do I need to go and kick somebody's ass? Like, what happened?
Right.
And he goes, I just didn't want you to be mad at me. And I'm like, the hell would I be mad at you for, dude? And he goes, well, because it's late, and we didn't ask his mom before. We just asked you. And I'm like, and I told him, man, I got to have a really good talk, just the 2 of us, because. And I told him, I said, look, dude, I would rather you call me at 2, 3, 5, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as I know that you're safe, I will be right there. I don't care. I don't give a damn at all. Your safety is more important than me, or more important to me. And so, that he started smiling and everything. And I told him, I said, look, dude, so when I took you in as mine. I said, I don't love you any more or less than I do the other kids. And I had to tell him, I said, because I have 4 kids before I got them. I said, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, buddy. I said, our 3 oldest ones, they aren't mine biologically. I've just had them since they were 5 and 1 and 1. I said, and they're my kids, that doesn't, just because, you didn't come from me doesn't mean that you're not mine. And I mean, it just, the light in his eyes, like, he didn't know, because everybody his whole life would tell him, oh, we're blood, so what we say matters, and yada yada yada. And for the first time, he got to realize that honestly, blood don't mean shit,
Yeah.
because and he didn't know that the older ones weren't, and I hate saying this, but quote unquote technically mine, because they are. They're my babies, you know.
Right.
And so, and then I spoiled him. Like it was o'clock by that time. I went to the grocery store, got him some sodas and some candy and everything. I'm like, dude, go upstairs and have fun, bro. Like it, you know, we're good. I love you. And that was
Wow.
the last, like I said, you know, one-on-one, you know, real father-son talk that I had with him. And that was like a week or two before. And I'm so glad that I got to explain it even more to him, you know, so that he knew we loved him, and he knew
Yeah.
that we were his, but for him to truly understand the depth of it, you know.
Right.
And
Right.
so I'm so glad for that. And I can remember the night before this happened, he was, first of all, he's wild. He'll always playing his Oculus, and I don't know how many times I got hit by that damn controller walking through the house, dude. Just I've never gotten my ass kicked by a 10-year-old as much as by him on his damn Oculus. He played this game called Gorilla Tag where he was always swinging his arms and
Right.
everything, and man, but he was just sitting at the table, playing on his phone, watching YouTube or something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, buddy, it's bedtime. Go to bed. I'll see you tomorrow. Ruffled his hair, gave him a hug, kissed the top of his head, and he said, "I love you, Uncle Bret." And then went to his room, and that was the last thing that he ever said to me.
Man.
And you know, he being the kid that he was, he didn't go upstairs and go to bed right away, because you know
Right.
they would always mess around. But I'm glad that those are the last things that he said. I just wish that they weren't
They
the
weren't the last
last
thing.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
Oh
mean,
my
at least,
gosh.
at least just from what you're saying, you know, and
I
and
can't
I
even
know
imagine.
nothing that anybody can say or do is just gonna make that pain go away or change anything that happened. We know that, but at least you can get some peace knowing that you gave him peace back in his life from what he had.
Yeah.
You gave him love. You showed him what a true father is like before he was taken from this world. And if anything, I hope that gives you some peace with this whole situation. Um, yes, of course, it's tragic and it is sad. That shouldn't have been your final conversation. It shouldn't have. But unfortunately, we live in a crappy world where crazy MFers like the one that did what he did do what they do. And now we have to learn how to go on with our existence living with this, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but man, I appreciate you sharing that so much, man. It's funny, man, because Brett, it's like it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, it does make me smile knowing that, man, you gave that boy love. And
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people out there that do that. I mean, we need more of that. You know what I'm saying? And the one thing that I'm seeing with this tragedy is that we're showing the world that yeah, we need more love, especially right now. And I think that's an awesome example of it. What you just said, man, for real, for real.
I appreciate it. And yeah, man, like when we got the kids, my coworkers would be like, "Damn, now you're up to 7." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude." And they're like, "How do you do it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. You know, I don't know, but what I do know is that they need love. They need a chance at life, because
Yeah,
been in the situation that they were in, they would, and this is just speculation, but because of the paths and the people that they were around, they would have became the thugs and the street urchins and
right,
everything like that. And
right.
like, I mean, it's crazy because Uzi's older sister, she just changed her name to my last name on Facebook. I mean,
Wow.
it's you know, I had to tell her, I'm like, I love you, but you're an asshole for making me cry, you know, because I mean, like it's not illegal, like we have custody of them, but we don't like, they're not adopted. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean.
So I'm fighting for it, but she was like, no, you're my dad, you know?
Yeah.
And so like I on the outside, I'm this big bad burly dude and everything like that. But I'll tell you what, the quickest thing that'll bring me to my damn knees and cry like a baby is my babies, you
Right.
know?
Right. For sure.
So
For
so
sure.
I am glad that I got to give them some semblance of how it should be, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. I think that's definitely the biggest positive takeaway from this for sure. Well, I don't mean to get back into the depressing crap, but let's just call a spade, man.
Yes, sir.
Everybody knows what happened. Everybody knows the tragedy. We've had the report release. We've had the footage release. Let me start with that footage, man, because I'm gonna tell you what I went through when I saw it. Right.
Sir.
I'm not gonna get too much into my story with Eliahana. That's for a different time. All I will say is that I wasn't as close to her, of course, as you were with Uzi, but she was my cousin. The best memories that I will have is her smile. I remember the last time I saw her, she was probably about maybe 6 years old. She gave me that smile and it melted my heart. I had to hug her, and I did. Um, and ever since then, when I would scroll on Facebook and her picture would pop up, because I have my family, of course, on my timeline
Right.
and everything, dude, they don't know. They don't know this. They're gonna if they hear this podcast, this will be the first time they know this. But there have been times when I was having rough days and I'd scroll and I'd see Ellie's smile, and it just okay, everything's good. Everything, it just had that
Right.
effect because she had such an awesome smile. Um, so when of course this happened, it pissed me off. So I'll go now, fast forward to that video. I saw that video, couldn't see it all, but I was angry. I was already angry. And then
Hmm.
what pushed me over the edge, and I know you're gonna know what I'm talking about when I say this. There's a part in there where this cop walks in the building and goes to the hand sanitizer thing and puts
Yep.
sanitizer in his hand. And I'm like, really? You care more about your damn hands than you do about getting your ass in there and making sure those babies are alive. That,
Absolutely.
bro, I was so close to punching something when I saw that. And I mean, I just cannot wrap my head around it, Brett. It doesn't make any sense to me, man. It
The,
does not.
yeah, the whole thing. So I'm gonna back up a little from that because I'm sure that people will wonder too. So
Yeah.
when that dropped, we were in DC. Me, my wife, and a couple of the other families. We were working with March 4th. It was a group from Highland Park because
Hmm.
they had that tragedy happen on July 4th.
Right.
And so I don't know how they did it, man. Those people are freaking miracle workers because they somehow got enough donations or support that they flew us to DC, put us up in a dope ass hotel, and catered to us the whole time while it's their community did that.
Mm.
And so we're in meetings with Congress people all day, all night, trying to push, this. And we get somebody messages one of the people in our group and said, hey, they're about to leak this footage. And
Wow.
so we called up the station. We're like, hey, wait, we're gonna see it on Monday, and we're gonna see it just what the cops are doing, because that's all we wanted to see was what the cops were doing.
Right.
And we did want the whole world to see what the cops were doing.
Right.
But they said, no, we're still gonna do it. There was Congress people from different states calling that news station, telling them, hey, hold off on this. Like, we're not telling you to hold off because we're trying to hide shit. I'm not even from your state, but the parents are gonna see it on Sunday, you
Right.
know and they went ahead and did it. And so the videos
Wow.
that you'll see online about us being devastated and upset is, one, we were in DC. We had to see that. And what the version that we were going to see was going to be after those initial shots and what the cops did. And that's all
Hmm.
we wanted to see. Instead, I'm in a hotel in DC away from my kids who have Facebook and everything. You know,
Right, right,
I've got kids ranging from 7 to 20. So, you know, they have social media and everything.
right.
And it getting dropped and I mean flooding everywhere, where the first few seconds you see that piece of shit walk in, do a little hair flip, which is probably one of the things that just the little nuances that piss me off even more,
Yeah,
and then go in and do what he did. You know, I mean, it hurts to even say. He just unloaded fire onto, you know, what everybody saw. And you know, we've had people say, oh well, the world needed to see it. The world, in my opinion, did not need to see my son's final moments. We needed to see what the cop did,
right.
because showing that kid, all it did was give all these other little sickos
Yes,
something to glorify,
yes,
you know. And
exactly.
that pissed me off. And so, you know, with that, and let me backtrack it a little more, is, you know, I've met some of the Parkland kids. I say kids, I'm sorry, they're not kids now, they're adults now, because
Right,
you know
right.
this shit keeps continuing. I talked to him, and I told one of them, I said, look, I am sorry. And he was like, what are you sorry for? I said, because it's not like I didn't care, but when y'all's shooting happened, I was at work, heard about it, saw it, and I was like, well, that sucks. And I went back to doing what I was doing. I didn't fight, I didn't do anything, and that breaks my heart now, you
Right.
know. And then thinking about it, like I said, not glorifying the killer, is because I can tell you who did Columbine, but I
Mm.
can't tell you the victims. Or before this, I couldn't. You know, I
Right,
couldn't
right.
tell you the victims' names, but I can tell you
Who did it?
Columbine.
Hmm.
Exactly. I can tell you all about Richard Ramirez, but I
Right.
can't tell you about his victims. You know, it's all of those things that you don't really understand until you're the one that it happened to. You
Right.
know, I've always been a big true crime guy. Like, I like learning about the psychology of it. You know, I'm not a professor or anything, but you know, I'd watch all these things. You
Of
know,
course.
I can tell
Yeah.
you, I can tell you all these crazy ass facts and everything. But one thing that everybody fails to remember, myself included, are the victims.
Yeah.
And it's I'm not going to say it's glorified when they're telling the stories, you know, the true crime stories, but it you don't ever realize that those were real people, that
Exactly.
they were lives, they were somebody's children's mothers, you know, brothers, sisters.
I just have to pause it for 1 second, y'all. I am furious. I don't know what news station it is, but I'm gonna find out, because it was one thing when I thought that they leaked it. Okay, I get it. But leaking it after family, hey, Rena, has called, as well as members of Congress calling, asking you to please wait. Thank you, Remy. Until, it's making me want to cry. I'm so mad. I am so mad. To 5 days, guys, 5 days. That's all these parents were asking for, to wait to release it, because half of these families, let me get on the screen because I'm so mad. Half of these families were in DC and had children with Facebook and stuff at home in Uvalde. And this news station wanted so badly to be the first people to release it that they couldn't even respect the family. You're hearing it right now from Uziyah's, I'm going to call him father because that's what he is. Father, that right there, hearing it is exactly why I will not play all of the body cam footage on here. Trust me, I've thought about it. I've watched other channels get tons of views playing the body cam footage and reliving it, but I will not do it exactly for this reason. You just heard him say it. Okay. Right here. They just lost my view. I'm furious. And I will put that on my community post. I cannot believe I was mad before, but I understood. This I don't understand. I don't understand how views can be so important that you can lose all sense of heart to say, forget it. just gonna play it anyways. I'm sorry. Because they wanted to be. Oh, well, Remy, we all knew it was leaked, but no one knew that it had asked not to be leaked. I'm glad you did, Remy, but no one knew it had been asked not to be leaked directly from the families. So half of these kids that you heard Bret say, I have kids 7 to 20 with social media. Half of them had to find out without them being there because half the parents were in DC. All the families wanted was to be able to see it with redacted audio. Keep in mind, these families first had to see it by hearing the screams of their children. They didn't want the screams of their children heard, and they didn't want to see the shooter. They wanted to see what the cop did. They didn't want to hear the gunshots. They wanted to see what the cops did. And they cared more about views in this country than we do about how badly we inflict pain on somebody who's already been traumatized. It's disgusting. I'm disgusted. Sorry, I'm disgusted.
Fathers, you don't get that when you watch those videos and you learn on these things. You don't. It's not impressed upon you that they're real people.
Right.
Because
Right.
we've been so desensitized to everything that it's incomprehensible until you're the one that they're interviewing about it,
Right.
and
Right.
then it's like, it's crazy. But yeah, back to the video. Sorry, dude, I'll get off
No,
on
no, you're
tangents
fine.
all
You're
the
fine,
time.
man. No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, that video, like I said, we were supposed to see it the Sunday, like I think it was like 4 days afterwards, and without the shots and everything. And one thing that really stuck out in my mind and really just broke my heart even more than it already was at the beginning. It says, or right when it's happening in the top corner, it says children's screams have been edited out or something along those lines. And it's gut-wrenching because they had to tell you that, so then that when he goes in there firing, my son's going to be screaming,
Right.
the other kids are going to be screaming, and that,
Yeah.
so, and then just the sitting around and doing absolutely nothing the whole time, the whole time. And that the hand sanitizer, dude. Here's my thing, and he might have been a psychic trying to wash off all the blood that's on his hands now for not doing nothing,
Right. Yeah.
because that's no amount of hand sanitizer is gonna clean his hands from that.
Definitely.
And I'm not a police officer, and one thing I'll say, because I get hate all the time now. Oh, well, what would you have done? Yada yada yada. I don't know, but I also didn't sign up for it. I knew those risks, and I said, nope, not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I talked about, I got a recruiter for the military one time, came and talked to me back when I was really young. They told me all about it. I was like, nope, not for me.
Right.
The risk when you take that oath, the risk. And I mean, I'll be 100% frank. My stepfather is a retired chief of police, and he is so disgusted by everything. And it's not even just because it's my kid. He said they failed everything that you ever learn in active shooter. They did not do at all whatsoever. You're supposed to go in and engage. And I'll tell you, I'm not that badass, Now, I was trying, when I got the call, I was hauling ass from work, and I was going to try to get the fuck in there. My wife was outside hearing the gunshots, trying to get in there. I have people who I now consider family because we're in a club that we never wanted to be in.
Right.
That got thrown down, handcuffed, kneed, and everything. I know this man personally now. Like, our babies died together, and all he was trying to do was get in there and do their jobs and save children.
Right. And
And
let's not forget about the mother who got handcuffed They let her loose, and she ran in there and got her kids out. God bless her for that. She had more courage than these damn police officers did, and she had no training, right? I mean,
absolutely, no vest, no gun, no
right,
nothing,
right.
you know. And that's the thing. If they would have just stayed away, dude, I have 100% faith that the parents that were there would have saved more lives.
Right.
Let's be honest. Like,
right.
And
I don't know if you can hear me, but I lost your voice, man. You're not coming through. Yeah, I can't hear you. See if we can get you back on here. Bear with us, folks. We're having a little bit of a technical difficulty. See if we can get Bret back on.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Now we got you. Go for it.
So I'm gonna be honest with you, man. My son didn't have a chance, and I know that. He was in room 111. That initial barrage, I know these things because of stuff that I'm not gonna say on here and everything, because
completely
it's
understand.
a little morbid and everything. I know that he didn't have a chance.
Right.
I know that. But how many babies could have been saved because you had babies calling 911 up until the very end?
Right.
And the cops want to come out and say, oh, well, we didn't know. We heard on the body cam footage.
Right.
We heard that. Y'all knew. What the hell?
Right.
What the absolute hell is going on in your mind? And I'll tell you, in my opinion, and I've never been anti-cop.
Right.
I haven't always gotten along with them.
Right.
I've never been anti-cop, And my thing is that these guys wanted the discounted meals. They wanted to wear the Punisher t-shirts. They wanted to say they were the Thin Blue Line. They wanted to wear the Oakley shades and everything. And that's it. It was Halloween for them, you know? And that's what pisses me off. And so, we're pushing for a lot of stuff that we can get to here in a minute. But one thing I do want to say is I think that there should be some sort of regulation on being a cop. A lot of them. I think there should be a lot of them. But one thing is I was watching one of the body cam footage, and this man could not move 10 feet without coughing up a damn lung, sounding like he was going to die.
Oh, wow.
And I'm a heavy smoker. I smoke a lot of cigarettes, and I don't sound like that.
Right.
And if you can't be...
Just wanted to pause that really quick. That is, thanks MJ's Life. That is exactly what, I can't remember who said it in chat, was that the heavier set man that was running to get, Remy did, to get the Band-Aids and stuff. He's not wrong, y'all. He's not wrong. In the military, and I'm going to put myself on the screen again. For anyone just coming in, this is Rob Trevino. He's a friend of mine. His cousin, Eliahana Torres, I got to know him through this tragedy. One of the most amazing dudes I've ever met. He, yes, I am absolutely, Remy. He has a podcast called I.M.O, and then I'll share the link out later. I'm afraid if I try to do it now, it'll exit it. He is interviewing. He sent me this and asked me to play it. He is interviewing right now Uziyah's dad. I'm going to call him that. He's actually his uncle, but his dad. And if you haven't watched from the beginning, get your tissues ready from the very beginning. Uziyah came from an abusive home. This man loved him loved him and showed him love. And the last words that he told his uncle, I think was one of the first times he said it, when he finally trusted, was he told his uncle he loved him. But if you also didn't see the news station thing, go back and watch that. But anyways, this needs to be heard, you guys. This man's interview is what we have been waiting to hear and what we needed to hear to understand the rawness of what these people have gone through. And he is not... Oh, no, that's all right. I'll get his link off Spotify, or I'll just ask him for it. He is 100% right. My husband had a really good point, and I'll go back to the interview. In the military, you have to pass, I think it's called PRTs, to stay in the military. Like, you have to make sure you're in decent shape, in case you go. I'm not against police officers having to have a standard of some sort of physical fitness so that we don't have a man that can barely breathe running to get a med pack. And I'm not saying anything about, the fact, forget being overweight. Let's realize the fact is, I have a friend who lives in Rochester. He's a police officer. Now, he's one of the most stand-up police officers you ever find. He's on his second knee replacement at 38 years old because because crime is bad there, and he's had to chase and get in so many scuffles and things like that. But those are he's in great physical shape. I agree with this man. All right, I'll go back to it, but I'm just saying. I know, right, Remy? Like, they're not in physical shape to protect.
Beat me in a foot race, and I'm slow as shit, man.
Right.
If you can't beat me in a foot race, you don't need to be a cop, because if I can get away from your ass, then it's just not going to cut out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot. I could talk on that forever, but well,
Yeah.
that footage. And I apologize, because, man, I start rambling a lot because I'm working on so many different things right now, against the school board, against the city, against federally and everything. So my mind's in a million different places.
No, I hear you, man. Well, let me help you out. So here's the next question I want to ask you with this. Speaking as, because I know I'm technically family, right? Because she's my cousin, but I know people like you, people like my cousin Sandra, are what I would consider the direct family, right? Because they were your kids. So here's my question. Speaking as one of those family members, what is it exactly? And this is your chance to tell whoever's going to hear this. What is it exactly that you want to see as an outcome with this? Like, how can it's never going to be made right? So we know that. But in a sense, how can this be made right?
I mean, there's the short answer and the long answer. The short answer is take accountability. Admit. My thing is if the school would have came out, if the cops would have came out, if all of these things would have came out, and all these entities would have just been like, look, we fucked up.
Right.
We can't change it, but you know what? We're going to change the situation for the next kids, because, like you said, nothing is going to bring my son back. Not anything at all.
Right.
But my thing is I don't want any other parents to ever feel this, because this is the most heartbreaking, devastating thing that anybody could ever go through in their entire life. I mean, so I don't want, dude, I've pissed off a lot of people in my life. A lot of people don't like me. I don't like a lot of people, but I can tell you this: I would not wish this, literally, and as cliche as it might sound, I would not wish this on my worst enemy. Dying is easier than feeling this. A whole lot of things.
See, that's all they want is accountability.
So if they would have just taken accountability and said, look, we're going to do this so no other kid has to look down the face of these guns. No other parent is going to have to bury their child.
Right.
And that's a hard concept for people to swallow. Is we had children were buried. In fact, on a little side note that's not talked about ever, there was a shortage of child-sized coffins to bury kids in. They had to call people from out of state to get child-sized coffins.
Yeah.
That is not something that you ever think about. Obviously, the funeral parlors don't think about that, because how often do 19 children die simultaneously?
Right.
So I mean, that's the short answer. Accountability. What I want to see now is starting with our school system, because I'm fighting for everybody's kids, but I have to start with my own.
Right.
is the better security. They've had so many bailouts in that
This
area. And
man
this year, I
should
think
be
the number was
speaking.
like 57
He is
bailouts.
wow.
Those were
37.
warnings
Right.
37.
that the school was not safe. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, if
Oh,
you're
man,
worried about
preach.
people entering your school that much,
Yeah.
why are you able to enter it?
Right.
You
Right.
know? And they just didn't care. You know, I honestly can say that 100%. That's how I feel. I do not feel like the school board or the superintendent cares. And I know the teachers, first of all, I feel so bad for the teachers because one, they're underpaid, and two, they have to buy their own materials half the time because these
Right.
schools don't give a shit.
Right.
But I believe that the school board and the superintendent do not give a damn because they still have Pete Arredondo hired.
Amen. MJ's
You
like,
know, the guy who I gave them proof after the body cam on the last
know your limits.
school board meeting that we had last week. I played them the part. I didn't know if it was audible, so I read what he said. And during that clip, he said, "That door, I bet you is unlocked. I bet you is unlocked." We tell him and tell him and tell him. So this man knew that that door was either unlocked or not locked at all, and didn't ever even try it. 77 minutes. All those lives for what? I mean,
Yeah.
like, I know there's cowardice in it, but I can't fathom the thought process on, hey, let's just try this door.
Right.
He's trying knives and keys on other doors, not that door. If they would have walked up and turned the handle, they could have
Right.
walked right in,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. That's the part for me too. That's just, I can't wrap my head around it. I just can't. How can you just stand there while children are losing their lives? How can you just stand there? You know,
Yeah,
they didn't have a chance. They didn't have a gun. They didn't have shields. Y'all did. And yet you
exactly.
just stand there. I can't wrap my head around it, Brett. I can't. And that's the part that just gets me.
Dude, and not just that, but in the beginning, on the first reports that came out, because we're always finding out something even more damning and more damning and more damning,
Right.
that they're trying to cover up. But in the first report, it was like, oh, well, we only had a pistol and he had an AR. My son only had a t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
My son only had a t-shirt. You had a pistol. You had something.
Right.
And then to find out that the shields were there within a few minutes.
Yeah.
And still nothing. And then now it's, oh, well, those weren't the correct shields. It's still something.
It's still something. Exactly. Exactly. That's where I go back to the cowardice. It's just pure cowardice,
100%. And the thing is that at first, there's like, we didn't have the personnel. 4 guys rushed in there on that side. There was another 3 officers that rushed in on the other side. That's 7 people. The problem is nobody wanted to be the first one. And my stepfather talked to me about this, and he said, when you do these active shooting trainings, they always tell you, you might die.
Right.
The first one through might die.
Right.
But that is what you signed up for. And so my thing is none of them wanted to be that first one.
Right. Right. And that's exactly what I think too. And that's where I say you said it perfectly a little while ago. They knew what they were signing up for. It's
Exactly.
like, this is the job, to hell with the discounts and all the other crap. This is what you signed up for. Now it's in your face. Here's what I think, going along with what you said. I think because it was Uvalde, Texas, and because nothing ever happens in Uvalde, Texas, none of that stuff's ever going to happen here. We won't ever have to worry about it. And then boom, and now it's on your front doorstep. What the hell are you going to do? And we saw what they did. We saw what they did.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I say. And I'm going to be honest. I say this every time I do an interview because I want people to hear this. But I'm going to let you in on a little insight. I stole it from my wife. And she, just giving her the little props,
Right,
but
right.
I do more on camera interviews and everything that she does.
Right.
But she said it perfectly, and I will quote this until the day that I die. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Exactly. Here's proof of that, Brett. So right after this happened, right? So we're talking within the next few days. Of course, I get together with my family, not in Uvalde, but like my mom, my sisters, my brothers, because and we're all talking about it because it's affecting our family.
Yeah.
And I have nephews. One of my nephews is 15, and the other one I believe is 9. And what really got me was my sister's telling me about a conversation she had with my nephew, and and talked about that situation. And my nephew said, "Oh, we've gone through that training." Okay, that's one thing. I get that. That's one thing. When we were kids, we went through the tornado drills and the fire drills. So I get that. I get they went through the training. This is what got me. He told my sister, these were his words. "Oh, well, when it happens, we know what to do. Not
When.
not if. When it happens, we know what to do." Bro, that hit me like a ton of bricks. This ain't the same world. This ain't the same world as it was when we were kids. You know
No.
what I'm saying? So when my 8-year-old nephew said, "Oh, when it happens, we'll know what to do."
Yeah.
I almost busted out crying right then and there.
Absolutely. And that's it's I try. Listen, I cuss a lot in real life, and I try not to in public and everything. But it is absolutely fucked up that children know these things, that they can ask these questions. Because my other son, he's also 10. He's in the 4th grade as well. His classroom was 108. He didn't go to school that day, thankfully. And there's, first of all, I'm going to back it up a little bit to tell the whole thing.
Sure.
When on the day that it happened, I had to call him and ask him, "Have you heard from Uzi? Has any of his friends reached out to you? Have y'all talked? Can you text them and everything?" Because at that time, they just told us that the kids were missing. They ran away.
Right.
They ran to this place. They ran to that place and everything. So I'm like, dude,
That's exactly what I heard.
I need you to find out, And first of all, I feel so bad for doing that because he's smart.
Yeah.
And at that point, he knew something bad had happened.
Right.
And I had to put him in an adult situation that he shouldn't have had to, because I'm trying to find my fucking son.
Right.
And he calls me back a couple hours later and he says, "Dad, they're not answering." But one of them said that it was Mr. Reyes's class, and that was Uzi's class. He said, "Dad, they said he got shot." My son knew beforehand, before we were told anything, that Mr. Reyes was shot.
Wow.
They didn't tell us nothing. They didn't tell us nothing. We sat in a room for 8 hours with them not telling us anything. In fact, Abbott got on the press and said that there was 14 children dead before we were told anything. And looking around that room, we're seeing this on Facebook. We're looking around and you see 14 different families in that room.
Oh my God.
You start putting 2 and 2 together, But my son, my other son, he's a trooper. He's one of those ones. I mean, I told him when he was 2. One time I was going out of town for work. I'm like, "Dude, you're the man of the house now. While I'm gone, you gotta take care of everybody." When he was 2 or 3, he's taken that to heart. And to see him break down the way that he did, because he held it together for 2 weeks. 2 weeks strong. And I'm telling him every day, "Dude, it's okay. You can cry. Like, it's okay. It's okay. You can be sad. You can be pissed off. Hell, we can go and punch something if we need to. Like, it's okay." And the day he finally broke down, he asked me questions that I couldn't answer. He said, "Why is an 18-year-old allowed to get this? Why weren't the doors locking? Why did the cops not do anything?" I mean, he had to watch the news and see his friends and his brother's face. And I'm not going to say the name of the kid, but one of the kids that he was pretty close to, because it was still coming out, the names and the numbers and everything. One of his good friends, he said, my wife turned on the TV, tried to switch it before anything, but he was like, no, Mom, let me see. And he said, oh no, they got so and so too. Just, it's unbearable. And then he tells me, he goes, Dad, I wish I would have went to school that day. I wish I would have went to school. I wish he would have came into my classroom. I'm bigger. I could have taken it, or I could have ran in. I could have gotten Uzi, or I could have distracted him. I could have done something.
Wow.
And that, I can't answer those questions, and it makes me feel like a failure, because the cops, the school, that shooter, they made me out to be a liar. Because I always tell my kids, I will protect you. I will do everything in my power. I will protect you. That is my job, is to protect you. And they made me out to be a liar because I could not protect my son. And then that's hard enough. My own shame of not being able to protect him, with the loss of him and everything. And now seeing my other kids, they lost a brother. My son, and he's gonna get so pissed at me for saying this, but my son, they shared a room. He couldn't go back into his room.
Oh my God.
We even rearranged it and everything so that he could, and he'll go up there and he'll play video games for an hour, play with his toys for an hour, and then he'll come back down. To this day, I had to buy him a cot and put his cot next to my bed. And the only way that he can go to sleep is if I'm holding his hand.
Oh my God.
And so, you have all the hurt of losing a child, but you can't make it better for your other kids. And that just, it's terrible. It's terrible. And you can't answer the questions. You have your own questions. You have your own whys, why? But then your kids are asking whys. Why is he able to do this? Why didn't he come to a different school? Why did he shoot up an elementary school? And that's the thing that really angers me. He wanted to claim that he was bullied. You have other kids telling us that, he wasn't bullied. He was the bully. We just didn't handle it. I wasn't there. I don't know.
Right.
But you're such a big man and a badass. You're going to go and kill people because you're hardcore and shit. But you pick the weakest, most vulnerable group that cannot fight back.
Yeah.
You're a fucking coward and a piece of shit.
Exactly. I
I
thought that same thing, man. Same exact thing. Like, really, you were bullied? Okay, let's take for a second and say, okay, for sake of argument, you were bullied, right?
Yeah.
Little kids bullied your ass?
Yeah.
I kind of think it might have been the kids your age. Now, I'm not saying I wish they would have shot the high school or anything. I'm not saying that, but come on, dude. This is an elementary school. You know what I mean? It's like, really? I mean, oh, man, that just...
It's the defenseless.
Yes.
He preyed on the defenseless. I mean, this piece of shit shot his grandma in the face.
Yeah.
Texted somebody beforehand saying that I'm going to shoot my grandma. Shoots his grandma. Tells her, hey, I just shot my grandma. I'm going to go and shoot up an elementary school now. Yeah. So my thing of thinking, people would be like, oh, well, he was crazy. He was in his right state of mind enough to fucking tell whoever that person was, I'm going to an elementary school. That was planned.
Right.
You don't just wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm going to go shoot up an elementary school. That was planned.
Right.
So I feel listen, bullying is wrong. 100%. I'm never going to say otherwise.
Right.
But the cowardice that takes to do that to the most vulnerable is beyond me, because face it, who the hell wasn't bullied? And I'm not making excuses for bullies or anything that, because we would fight back in the day,
Yeah.
But you plan that. You plan to shoot up an elementary school.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just
I told this to a reporter, man, a because we went down there to Uvalde a few days
Mhm.
after this happened, and which, by the way, I gotta say is crazy because I'm not sure exactly where you live, but I will say that where we were at, where my cousins live, it's not
Mhm.
that far from Rob at all. And I gotta say, I was really shocked that there were reporters just walking the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like just
Bro.
looking for a story. You know what I mean? Well, anyway, there was my family. One walked up. They looked at me and I'm like, "You want me to? I'll talk to him if you." And they like, "Yeah, go talk to him and everything." Thankfully, this guy was actually respectful
Mhm.
and he was nice and everything. But that's neither here nor there. But I will tell you what I told him, and unfortunately, I still kind of feel that way. But what I told him was this: I said, I'm a Christian. I've
Mhm.
been a Christian for many years. I'm a firm believer in Christ. I will tell people about God. Like that's just who I am. I've always been that way. You ask my family, they'll tell you, right?
Right.
I do Christian music. I've done it for years. That's just who Rob is.
Right.
And I've never ever wished ill will on anyone. Not like you were saying, or not even on my worst enemy, you know.
Mhm.
I told this reporter and I meant it. And I said, but I got to be honest and say, I hope he's burning in hell. And I know that the weight that carries in saying that. I am aware of that.
Right.
And I have to have my own conversation with God about how I feel about that. But that is just the reality of the situation. And that is just how I feel. You're evil. I hope you're burning in hell. You know what I mean? Now, having said that, we have a few minutes
Yeah.
left. I want to ask you this question, and Brett, I think we're gonna have to have a part two or something because I know we could go on for even more time.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
recently here, it came out on the news. It was a Spanish station, but the shooter's mother came out of jail apparently, right? And she was
Yep.
confronted by some of the family members and whatnot. Here's my
Yep.
question to you again, speaking as a family member. I look at this and I get it. I get the anger, I get the hurt, and I get the fact that we were robbed of justice because
Mhm.
the guy's dead, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I know right now it's like you want to put that on something. Would you agree with me in saying yes, those feelings are validated, but we need to leave her alone?
Yes and no. So I can explain
Please
on the
be honest.
situation.
Yeah, be
I,
honest, please.
so what happened is she was let out of jail, which we were coming out of a meeting,
Right,
right? We had no idea, absolutely no clue, because hell, why would we do that?
right.
But so I'm gonna back up just a little bit so I can tell
Sure,
the story in full.
sure.
So the day that the shooting happened and everything, parents were rushing to the hospital, this and that and everything. That woman came in there and sarcastically said, "I'm sorry, my son was the one that killed your kids." Said
Mm,
that first. So first of all, that's going to put a bad taste in your mouth,
of
right?
course, of
And
course.
and it was sarcastic as hell. Now knowing what we know about this lady, I'm sure that she was under the influence. I wasn't there
Right,
personally, but
right.
from everybody else who has talked to me, and I keep in close contact with all the families, that that lady went in there and said that, and she had to be escorted out of the hospital.
Mm,
Said that 2 days later, she does that interview, and I had to get it translated, but
right,
she
right.
says, "Forgive him. He had his reasons."
Mm,
What reasons could that be? And they asked her that, and I don't know if it was, I can't say verbatim exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of so that they could meet, or so God could see all of his babies.
that's no.
I may be wrong in the exact
Right.
translation of it, but that's what was said, the gist of it. Okay. And you can find that one. They clipped that one out, and the one that they show
Mm-hmm.
everybody, but you watch the full one, it says that.
Gotcha.
And so right then, now you're staying on his side. Forgive him. Why the hell are we gonna forgive him?
Right.
If she would have just kept her mouth shut and been like, look, I am sorry, or not even said that, hell, don't even apologize. You didn't shoot our kids.
Right.
Just don't say nothing, right?
Right. Right.
She's done that several times. So when she got out of jail, unbeknownst to us, she was by the cemetery where the babies were.
Right.
She wasn't right on the cemetery, but she was walking real close, a few blocks, right?
Right.
And by blocks, I mean it was a little stretch of highway. I mean, you know where it's at, right?
Yeah, I know where it's at.
So between the Fairplex and there.
Okay, I get you.
So with all the drugs that she's been on and all the crazy shit that she was saying, it looked like she was going to the cemetery.
Gotcha.
That's why parents stopped. Because okay, you've already said this crazy shit. What are you gonna do to our kids' graves? I mean, and that would have been my first thought too.
Right, I get that.
That's why they stopped. I don't agree with going out and trying to start shit or trying to find people like that. But the situation happened how it happened, and I don't blame them at all whatsoever. I would have done the same. In fact, I saw it happening and tried to call around, and I was about to head out there, because the cops got involved in everything. But if you listen to her, she tried to defend her son again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like I said, if she hadn't have said nothing at all or anything, I don't think anybody would have been mad at her. Everybody would have felt sorry for her.
Right.
I don't know his living situations or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I feel sorry for his grandma who got shot in the face. Yeah. I absolutely do. I know that there has been people that have been talking shit about her. I would not do that.
Right.
And I'm not saying that the families, I'm saying I've heard of other people out in the community doing that. No, that wasn't her fault. She didn't shoot the kids. She might not have been a good parent or grandparent or whatever. I don't know that. But she got shot in the face.
Yeah.
By her grandson. I feel bad for her. So I don't feel bad for that lady now. I want to, but I absolutely don't. You know. So that's like I said, I wouldn't go out looking for her. But if she popped up around my house or my area or wherever I'm at, started spewing that same bullshit, I would have some words to say too.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that is completely understandable. Well, I mean, see, there you go. When you get the whole story, you really know what's going on.
Exactly.
So listen, like I said, especially after talking, we're definitely gonna have to do like a part 2 or come back again because there's so much more that we can get into with this. But with just the last few minutes, here's the next question that I'd like to end this with. Right.
Yes, sir.
And I think I know the answer to this already, but I want to hear your opinion on it. I think it's safe to say that Uvalde will never be the same.
Absolutely
because of this. But let me say this. Let me ask this. Do you think in your heart of hearts that Uvalde will become a stronger community with more love, with more unity in this, or is it going to still be divided? I mean, what do you think?
I hope so. I want to believe so. I think that a lot of people in this community are scared of the cops, and for damn good reasons. I mean, it's Uvalde. You know what I'm talking about. Without getting too deep into it, I think a lot of people are scared. Yeah. But what I want to say to these people is, you know what? I understand being scared, but would you still be inactive if it was your kid? Because I can say from the bottom of my heart that if Uzi hadn't have been in there, I would still be out on the streets protesting. I don't give a damn. Those were babies' lives lost. I also hope it doesn't fall to the wayside. Like, I've lived here for 3 years, never heard of this, never was taught about this in school. There was a huge walkout in the 70s.
Yes.
In Uvalde. They don't teach that. So is this going to be another thing that gets swept under because the powers that be don't want it to be discussed? And after hearing that, I'm telling everybody that I can hear. And we're not, my biggest thing is my son and his classmates and those heroic ass teachers, and I will never stop praising those women. They are not going to die in vain.
Yeah.
So real quick, Uzi wanted to be a cop because he said he wanted to help people the way that we helped him. It breaks my heart because they failed him. But his hope to help people and his legacy will live on, and I will make damn sure of that. He, in the end, will help more people than he ever could have as a cop, because I will not stop fighting for justice, for security, for accountability until the day that I am dead. And even then, I will find a way to come back and haunt people until they do.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
You know?
Man, well, Bret, listen, I just want from the bottom of my heart to thank you
Thank you.
for taking the time to just share your story, share about Uzi especially, but also the fact that you're in there, you're in the fight, you're active. This right here, this is part of the fight. We're getting it out there. We're getting the story out there. And listen, man, I want to encourage you as well. Keep going. And since you're so tight with the families, let them know there's a platform. If they want to come on, if they want to come on and tell their story, I will open the door gladly. Because one of the things that I hated about this whole thing were these damn reporters wanting to get, reactions. And it's like, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is, if you're ready and you want to tell your child's story, whatever that story may be, I want to give you a platform. This is the one thing I know I can do. This is how I'm going to honor my cousin, by saying, hey, I got a platform. Come on. I'm going to give you that platform to say whatever you want. As you saw today, I told you,
yes, sir,
say whatever you want. And
absolutely.
And I'm happy. I'm excited because I know a lot of people are going to hear this, and they're going to hear the truth from a family member, not what the media wants you to hear. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And so, I thank you so much for that, because real quick, I can say I've done an hour and a half long interview that made 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that ain't going to happen here, brother.
Exactly. And I definitely will reach out, and, there might be some families that want to right away, and there might be some families that can't right now, because people grieve at different paces. I use my grief to fight.
Exactly.
So hell yeah, I appreciate it so much, man. And like I said earlier, I'm honored to be your first guest. I wish I didn't have to be. I wish there was no.
Same.
I wish we were talking wrestling,
Yeah, for sure.
But
for sure.
I'm glad that we have had this talk, and I will come back and do 2, 3, 4, 5. I can talk about the whole thing for hours, man.
For sure, man.
So
definitely. Well, Bret, thank you again. And next time I'll make sure we
every time. That was super powerful. I'm not even going to say much after that, because it was so powerful. This is Rob Trevino. His cousin Eliahana was one of the victims. And bye, Muffin Top, have a great day. He has opened up his platform. And then when okay, now I'm on mute. And then he sends me the interviews once they're done, and allows me to graciously stream them and whatnot. So his podcast is I.M.O. Rob T, and definitely support him. This was an amazing. It changed my perspective on a lot of things. I got to tell you, a lot of things. This man is very, very well spoken, and I felt like it. Well, let's call him Uzi, because that's what he called him, and I thought it really made you like realize how the families are feeling. Thanks, Rena. And it also really, really helped me understand their anger with the mom. Because what we're seeing in the media is almost a little bit of like, yes, I get it, right? Like he said, I feel sorry. I feel terrible for the grandma. And he said, you'll never see him say anything bad about her. I know that she is trying to relearn how to speak. And there's constantly people outside of her house, some praising her grandson. She worked at Uvalde for 27 years, y'all. Some of these kids, she had just retired. Some of these kids were like family to her. So she's got a lifetime of pain. But yeah, you're saying that it made it look like the families attacked this woman for no reason, and that wasn't the case. And the fact that she's going around saying the things she is very bold. The fact that she went said that in the hospital to them, yeah, I lost my sympathy right there for her. But this man was extremely well spoken. I had no idea that they had asked the media to not release the video personally. You know, that changed whether I'll ever watch that channel again. And Caddy, Texas sent me the video of when another Katie Couric calls them out and asks the question, and they deflect against it. This news station, and as a YouTube creator, we have to ask, and as the media, we have to ask ourselves, look, are views more becoming more important than people? And if that's the case, then we're in trouble. And I think that's evident right there that that was the case. So, um, again, show Rob some love. I'll keep sharing this as he sends them. Thanks, Remy. Yeah, and he will be. He is ready to come on. So we're just trying to work out a day for him to come on, as well. And yeah. So there's a video I didn't know, Brandy, that Caddy Texas Gale just sent me that I'll play another time. That is about when Katie Couric actually talks to the news station that leaked this footage, and she point blank says some things like, well, why, or something like that, and he skirts past the questions, I guess. So I'm gonna watch it and then I'll play it. But exactly, Remy, exactly. So, and you heard the dad say, all I wanted, he said, I would have been much more gracious had anybody, the cops, the school district, anybody had any type of accountability to say, we screwed up, we messed up, and none of them have. No, Brandy, the news, yeah, Brandy, that. But all right, y'all, we'll have a really great rest of the day, and I will talk to y'all later. And thanks for joining, and thanks for everybody that became a member, and those who couldn't, I'm just glad you're here. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later.